We begin with California Governor Gavin Newsom, who spent the weekend trying to avoid responsibility as the fires were still burning by dropping by the Pod Save America podcast for an attempt to clean up his own image.
I want to know the answers. So I'm the governor of California. I want to know the answer. I've got that question. I can't tell you about how many people, what happened.
Now watch this. We don't have to play the whole thing, just the first 30 seconds. Watch how he's finally wanting to have his people be responsible. Go ahead, Rob.
If you incite violence, I want to be clear about this. If you incite violence or destroy our communities, you're going to be held to account.
Okay.
That kind of criminal behavior will not be tolerated.
Megyn Kelly and Patrick Bet David just detonated the political equivalent of a truth bomb on Gavin Newsom, tearing apart his carefully polished public image like confetti tossed at a campaign party gone wrong. With sharp wit and fierce clarity, they exposed the California governor as a full-scale PR performance. Slick hair, smooth lines, and promises that collapse the moment anyone examines them. From shaky policies to bold hypocrisy, this takedown wasn't casual commentary. It was a full demolition, the kind where even Newsom's own reflection would flinch. This was raw, intense political destruction delivered without hesitation.
He had no dignity. That's what I was missing. There was no dignity. It just looked like a man desperate for attention. And whenever DeSantis was scoring points on him, he would interrupt over and over to try to talk over the points as just a, that's like a middle school debate tactic, which is pathetic and not.
This was a catastrophic moment in his career. And now people are sitting there worried and saying, are we ready if an earthquake happens? I honestly don't care if you're straight, gay, lesbian. I have no interest in any of that stuff. But if we're hiring you and you're talking about you want to increase diversity, that's not your job. Your job is to protect the families.
Megyn Kelly didn't waste a moment setting the tone when she locked her attention on Gavin Newsom, turning the entire moment into something that felt less like a political critique and more like a high-profile comedic takedown delivered with sharp precision. She didn't raise her voice or lose control. She simply lifted an eyebrow and dismantled his public persona piece by piece, like a skilled professional tired of treating an overhyped patient pretending to be impressive. It wasn't just the points she made. It was the calm, steady way she delivered them, carrying a quiet disbelief that someone so perfectly styled could still be so disconnected from the reality most people live in.
I forgot to mention Gavin Newsom. Now, he's a far left progressive, and Bill Maher just came out in favor of him. But he's the most radical Democrat in America. Honestly, his politics may be left of the squads. He would be a hard no. I don't care how good his hairline is. They're going to say no. It's not another.
Megyn focused sharply on what she famously described as the shampoo commercial of American politics, framing Gavin Newsom not as a true leader or policymaker, but as a glossy advertisement built entirely on appearance and smooth presentation. To her, he wasn't guiding anything. He was posing, offering style without real substance, giving press events that looked half-fashion shoot and half-confusing word tangle, where lighting and angles mattered more than clear action. Every public moment, she suggested, felt like it required a stylist, a ring light, and a makeup team polished enough to rival half of Hollywood's finest professionals.
You know, a great drinking game is when you watch a Newsom speech and every time he says, you take a shot, you'll be fucking hammered within 3 minutes.
So it's actually a pretty good drinking game. You know, this guy lost $1 trillion of money under management that left the state of California the last 4 years.
Yeah, and he's done nothing to make people want to come back or stay. He's making it worse.
But that goes back to the idea when you're saying Trump versus, Kamala or any of this stuff. To me, it goes basics to economy. You lost 2 people due to economy. And Elon Musk, he says, I got a vengeance to get back to these guys because what did he say about his losing his son?
He said that.
So my son Xavier is dead.
Then came her sharp breakdown of Gavin Newsom's well-known lockdown hypocrisy, delivered with a calm confidence that made the point land even harder. Megyn noted that nothing says public servant quite like slipping into a luxury restaurant while telling everyone else to mask up and eat outside in the cold rain. She didn't even need to mention the name. Everyone already knew it, because that French Laundry dinner might as well be stamped on his public record forever. It wasn't the meal she highlighted, but the smug attitude, the rule-breaking confidence, and the we make the rules but don't follow them swagger that had become the defining trait of the Newsom reputation.
I watched the press conference. I met with some of those leaders. We had my team start talking to local leaders, saying what's going on. Our state,
and you weren't getting straight answers from
I was getting
leaders.
different answers. When you start getting different answers, then I'm not getting the actual story.
So you decided the thing to do would be to go on Pod Save America to talk about it, because it's, in the end, it's all about you. This is another David Muir, folks. He is just as vain and worried about his image in the middle of...
Megyn dug into his emergency hair appointment during the peak of pandemic restrictions with a level of precision that only someone completely fed up could deliver. While ordinary Californians were being stopped from visiting dying relatives, Newsom was out getting his haircut refreshed as if he were preparing for the cover of a style magazine. According to Megyn, he seemed far more focused on smoothing out a stubborn cowlick than flattening the infection curve, turning a moment of crisis into a reminder of just how out of touch his priorities had become.
What is kind of weird on the playbook, the page is taken out of the playbook, is his current play is the play to stay governor of California. It's not the play to become the president. Who is he winning over?
The moderate play or the radical play?
It's a radical play.
Yeah, right. They're
now.
kind of getting mixed
up.
up.
But to get the moderate play is for being a president. The radical play is to stay governor of California. It doesn't make any sense.
But how do you win the primary?
Megyn tore into his climate change policies as well, not because she dismissed environmental protection, but because Newsom had turned the issue into a Hollywood-style blockbuster where your gas stove played the villain and he played the glowing hero, charging his Tesla while the state's power grid struggled to survive. In her view, only someone living in a mansion powered by guilt and polished image could demand that everyone else sacrifice their comfort while he hosted backyard events lit with decorative lanterns. She also shredded the way he tried to market himself as America's backup president, always waiting in the wings like an understudy who insists on bringing his own spotlight. She painted him as the kind of man who wakes up, admires his reflection, then calls his PR team before brushing his teeth. Megyn pointed out how desperate he seemed to trend, to go viral, to stay relevant, not through ideas, but through vanity and theatrics. And with a cutting smile, she marveled at how California's massive exodus had become the biggest unplanned migration since the gold rush. Only this time, people weren't arriving, they were running away. To her, Newsom was the guy who inherited the mansion, set it on fire, and blamed the neighbors for not bringing enough hoses.
This is the governor of California, the great state of California, which he's destroyed the last 4 years under his reign. He's being asked, what happened for this $24 billion that you asked us taxpayers to fix homelessness? What happened to that money? Here's the exchange. Go ahead, Rob.
To determine whether the money that's being plowed into homelessness is being well spent.
One of the vexing issues that was highlighted in the audit was local. And each city and county has different strategies and approaches. We've tried to level set that.
I'm sorry, Governor, I didn't hear responses to either of those questions. Do you acknowledge whether the money that the state isn't doing enough to ensure that the money is being well spent?
The audit did not surprise me.
When Megyn wrapped up, the audience didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or immediately start packing for Texas. But one thing was absolutely certain. She had taken Gavin Newsom's polished public image and pushed it straight through a common-sense powered meat grinder. Then Patrick Bet David stepped in, and if Megyn was the scalpel, Patrick was the full-force sledgehammer, swinging with entrepreneurial precision and years of experience recognizing incompetence. No one delivers a roast with more intensity than someone who has built real businesses and knows exactly what failure looks and smells like. Patrick's approach wasn't flashy. It was grounded in receipts, facts, and a deeply frustrated honesty. He began by arguing that Newsom runs California like a failing startup desperate to pretend everything is fine, flashing a perfect smile every time someone questions the results, and launching new marketing campaigns instead of fixing problems. Patrick said that if Newsom were a CEO, he would have been fired, sued for mismanagement, and locked out of the company dashboard ages ago.
In any event, they're melting down on the left over what Gavin Newsom is doing, which is kind of fun. I mean, it almost makes me want to see it continue, but not really, because unlike Bill Maher, who definitely has a touch of the TDS, but can be fair to Republicans, the way Gavin Newsom governs is truly radical. I mean, There's nothing fair about the way he runs California when it comes to fairness to Republicans.
Patrick didn't hold back when he attacked the idea that a governor presiding over a rapidly expanding homelessness crisis could somehow pitch himself as a national leader. He said it was like watching the captain of the Titanic volunteer to fly a space shuttle. He hammered the exodus of major companies leaving California, pointing out how Tesla is gone, Oracle is gone, and countless small businesses have been crushed beyond recovery, creating a trail of empty storefronts and abandoned opportunities. Patrick argued that if Newsom were running a company and lost that many clients, the board wouldn't just fire him, they'd change the locks, revoke his access, and pretend they had never hired him in the first place. He compared Gavin's economic strategy to burning piles of money, filming it in slow motion, and calling it visionary art. Patrick then went after education, describing California's school system as so damaged under Newsom's leadership that it could serve as a documentary on what happens when activism replaces genuine academics. Test scores keep falling, students keep slipping, and the only thing rising is the budget for more explanations about why nothing is ever his fault. He mocked the state's taxes too, calling them a protection racket disguised as policy, saying Newsom treats taxpayers like guests trapped in a luxury hotel, charged more for less, and expected to smile about it.
Nothing. He's sided over and over with that lunatic, Scott Wiener, the one that Carrie and Britt have been chasing down all over California on his radical trans ideology. I think he's only rejected that guy one time on his most crazy trans agenda. And now he wants to come out and say like, oh yeah, boys shouldn't be in girls sports. Like Charlie said, well, what have you done about it?
Patrick's roast wasn't just about criticizing Newsom's leadership. It was about exposing the polished illusion he hides behind, the confident mask that pretends charisma can replace real results. He argued that Gavin's greatest achievement wasn't governing, but convincing people that charm and dramatic speeches could cover up actual failures. According to Patrick, California didn't collapse from lack of resources. It collapsed from an overwhelming surplus of Gavin Newsom's mismanagement. He compared the state to a luxury cruise ship with a charming captain who loves hosting champagne brunches but has no idea how to steer. And every time the ship hits another iceberg, Gavin smiles and blames climate change, political opponents, or the weather. Patrick's final analogy stung the most. He said that if Newsom were a brand, he'd be one of those expensive cologne bottles that look amazing on a shelf, promoted with huge marketing budgets, but smell like panic and poor decisions the moment you remove the lid. He insisted it wasn't cruelty, it was honesty, sharp and comical, revealing how politicians like Newsom rely on fog machines and slogans to distract from the collapse happening right in front of people.
This is the governor of California, the great state of California, which he's destroyed the last 4 years under his reign. He's being asked, what happened for this $24 billion that you asked us taxpayers to fix homelessness? What happened to that money? Here's the exchange. Go ahead, Rob.
To determine whether the money that's being plowed into homelessness is being well spent.
One of the vexing issues that was highlighted in the audit was local. And each city and county has different strategies and approaches. We've tried to level set that.
I'm sorry, Governor, I didn't hear responses to either of those questions. Do you acknowledge whether the money that the state isn't doing enough to ensure that the money is being well spent?
The audit did not surprise me. The state has advanced unprecedented investments, you're correct, and unprecedented interventions demanding more accountability with state money at the local level.
What does that mean, buddy?
It's like, at what point are the people going to say enough is enough and stop putting these type of people in power? It's your money, California. It's your money. And where's it going? Nothing is getting done. The streets are horrible.
Both Megyn and Patrick understood the strategy Newsom was playing. Appear everywhere, look confident doing it, and hope no one notices when everything collapses behind the curtain. But the mask was slipping fast, the glossy finish cracking, and the punchlines were practically writing themselves. Megyn mocked how Newsom constantly lectures the rest of the country, while his own state wobbles like a Jenga tower made of IOUs and empty promises, pointing out how he criticizes other governors while sidestepping any mirror that reflects his own failures. She joked that he behaves like a substitute teacher trying to discipline the school principal. Patrick followed with equally sharp comparisons, calling Newsom's national ambitions the equivalent of the guy who burns down his own kitchen and then confidently applies for a chef job at the White House. In Patrick's view, the only place Newsom should be leading America is in a cautionary documentary about hiring someone based on their cheekbones instead of proven results. And neither of them stopped there. They weren't just speaking to an audience. They were speaking to taxpayers wondering how a state blessed with perfect weather, natural beauty, and innovation had become a cautionary tale. To them, Newsom didn't fail quietly. He failed loudly, dramatically, and with a soundtrack. Megyn highlighted the absurdity of him trying to rebrand himself nationally after turning California into a real-life reality show where nobody wins the final rose. She compared him to a Netflix show that somehow got renewed despite terrible reviews simply because the studio liked the poster.
Your kids in the school system of California, no matter what part of California you're in, why would you do that? So you don't trust the system. Number 4, if you choose to start a small business in California, do you think they've cleaned the homelessness? They got $24 billion of taxpayer money and homelessness just went up. In America, we have 770,000 of homeless people in America. 181 of it is in California. This man has been the governor for 6 years, the lieutenant governor prior to that for 8 years. His policies have destroyed.
Patrick fully agreed, adding that if Newsom ever ran a gym, people would walk in, see the equipment literally on fire, and still be handed a membership form with a massive markup while being told everything was perfectly fine. Then Newsom would appear on television and explain that the chaos was simply a misunderstanding, and that the customers should smile more and appreciate the experience. For both Megyn and Patrick, this wasn't personal, it was national. A warning that smooth talk and Instagram-ready policies mean nothing when a state becomes a flashing caution sign for the rest of the country. They argued that if someone can't lead without a ring light, maybe they shouldn't be leading at all, no matter how polished their appearance might be. So they kept going. Each roast, each sharp line, and each comedic jab wasn't aimed just at Newsom the individual, but at the entire illusion that charisma can replace competence. To them, Gavin was the final boss of political packaging, and they came prepared with receipts, jokes, and enough blunt truth to shake the entire stage.
That Gavin Newsom was basically almost burned alive. The governor of California. Take a listen.
We went up to one of the canyons on the fire, sitting there feeling we're a good quarter mile away. I'm not making this up, video to bear it out. All of a sudden, we see an ember, hits the tree goes on fire, 100 seconds. God is my witness, may have been 90 seconds. The house is in flames. I have embers of flames. They're taking it off my hair, and we're running back into the car. Winds are swirling around. Garbage cans were in the air, and we were getting the hell out of there.
Okay, why is he saying his God is my witness and I'm not making...
Somewhere in California, Newsom's PR team scrambled while Megyn circled back, pointing out that his true talent wasn't governing, it was auditioning, as if every camera, every speech, and every dramatic press moment was just another screen test for a role he hadn't actually earned. She compared his entire approach to selling sparkling dreams built on a dazzling smile, even as the foundation beneath those dreams slowly crumbled. Patrick wasn't finished either. He compared Newsom's leadership to a luxury car with a flawless exterior, but no engine. A machine that looks impressive, but only moves when someone pushes it from behind. He mocked how Gavin turns every crisis into a branded photo opportunity, slapping hashtags onto disasters and calling it leadership, as if marketing could replace real solutions. Patrick warned that if the country allowed someone with this pattern to scale up from California to the national stage, people would soon find themselves paying more for less and being told to smile while doing it. Together, Megyn and Patrick weren't just roasting Newsom, they were pulling back the curtain on an entire performance built on curated chaos, polished theatrics, and an image that couldn't survive real scrutiny.